moderate rebels are against Al-Qaeda or fighting Al-Qaeda has now been exposed as complete lies, basically.
Now, I believe it was 2 days ago or 3 days ago, there was a huge bombing in Homs, in a, you know, quote, government-controlled area, of a school, which killed 41 school children. There you see the Al Jazeera headline, children killed in Homs double blast. Killed 45 people, including 41 children. This basically got no mainstream coverage whatsoever. It was in Al Jazeera. Imagine if a school was bombed in America and 41 kids died. I mean, that, no attention whatsoever on this. And why? Well, because it's being carried out by the very same rebels that are in bed with the FSA, which are about to receive a huge new cache of weapons courtesy of the Obama administration. So tell us about this school bombing that just occurred.
Well, you know, it's very easy for the media who do report it to try to blame it on ISIS, but actually ISIS doesn't have much of a presence in the Homs region in the southwest of Syria. They do have a presence, but it's very minimal. And what happened was Homs was touted as the heart of the revolution only about a year ago, until it was actually taken back by the government forces and the military. So the Syrian troops secured these areas, and now the only way that these extremist militias can extract basically vengeance upon those residents of Homs that are now living their daily lives is to have these suicide bombings. And it wouldn't be the first time. That area has been under car bombs like twice or three times in the past. And the fact that BBC and, you know, I've looked up the coverage of the story, and it's very minimal. They try to ignore it because they don't want to point out the atrocities of the rebels that they have been supporting for the last 3 years and calling democratic, you know, freedom fighters. And this attack against the school was a deliberate attack. There was no military targets anywhere around the proximity of the region. There were not any soldiers or anything like that. And the bombs went off just as the kids were coming out of the school. And there's video footage of it online, and it's quite horrific. I would warn anyone that would search for it. But it's interesting also that some of these human rights groups and NGOs also didn't have much of coverage of it. And in fact, the Syrian Electronic Army had to hack into the Twitter and the page of UNICEF just to get them to cover the Homs car bombing. And as soon as they got their accounts back, of course, they deleted any evidence of the car bombing of the school.
So did anyone actually claim responsibility for the bombing?
As far as I know, not yet, no. But it's quite a cowardly attack, and I think it's clearly to revenge against these people that are going back to live in Homs. They want to make sure that they don't live peacefully, or perhaps even to try to kick them out of Homs and to restart things there, because Homs is a very important city. All roads lead to Homs and into Lebanon. So this is one of the reasons why it became the heart of the revolution, because it's a very strategic city.
And there was this new group that suddenly emerged out of nowhere, Khorasan, a couple of weeks ago, which the Obama administration claimed it had bombed. Tell us about Khorasan. Is that a real group, or is it just an offshoot of Jabhat al-Nusra?
Khorasan is basically just Jabhat al-Nusra. And I don't know why they've decided to give them a new name. I suspect it's because they don't want to make it clear that they're targeting Jabhat al-Nusra, because it would anger all of the moderate rebels that they're supporting in Syria, and anger all of the people in Syria who support the insurgency and the revolution, who also happen to support Jabhat al-Nusra. And you can see that, again, you know, even the group that the US has said that these are the moderates and these are the people we're giving weapons to, said that we condemn the strikes against Jabhat al-Nusra, because if they don't do so, then they're going to lose a lot of supporters, and they can't survive without Jabhat al-Nusra. Many times the Western media has admitted that Jabhat al-Nusra and ISIS are basically the main groups fighting in Syria, and yet they're still trying to undermine the Syrian government.
Okay, we'll be back after the break. Calls for Syrian Girl, 1-800-259-9231. This is the Alex Jones Show Live. Get your calls in.
News flash. Home invasions are on the rise. It takes less than 10 seconds to kick in a door. 10 seconds is not enough time to protect your family. And what would happen if you're not home? Easy Armor is the ultimate security solution. 85% of break-ins are through a door. Protect your home now with Easy Armor. Go to invasionstopper.com to get real security for under $70. That's invasionstopper.com. Easy Armor. Your security is our only business.
You heard the discussions all over the radio. You couldn't believe what you were hearing. You trusted them. You felt betrayed. Your emotions began to consume you. Outrage set in. Then, nothing. Days turned to weeks and months. Then, you've forgotten. But they haven't. They're still monitoring your every move. It's coming. What's coming? Monitor blockitpocket.com. Or will you forget?
Nanoparasites, termed viruses, infect the iron-poisoned population, for they require a host with iron to replicate. Parasites are propagated via the food and water supply and through vaccinations. Those born after 1945 have the vaccine parasite set to activate now. Due to unprecedented iron intake, officials prepare for pandemics because they know the vaccine parasites are activating on a mass scale. This is the extermination plan, people. For further information, go to unveilingthem.com. That's UNVEILING them.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
What good is a Big Berkey water filter?
We get that question a lot here at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And in a word, the answer is protection. Protection from water main breaks, E. coli contamination, environmental chemical spills, pesticide runoff, chlorine taste and smell, and all forms of fluoride. Plus, Big Berkey water filters are the original gravity water filter system and most trusted on the market for a reason. Tested by multiple independent NSF EPA certified labs, they are the gold standard in water purification. At only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. That means big savings. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get a Big Berkey today at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit our website or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Hi folks, Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his 2-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed, and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage, or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex.
Chase the sky forever.
We're back live on the Alex Jones Show Friday edition with me, Paul Joseph Watson. Breaking news, the hazmat teams that are there to clean up the Ebola-infected apartment of Ebola victim Thomas Duncan, who, of course, came into Dallas a few days ago, have finally arrived 3 days after the fact, after he was announced to be the first Ebola victim in the United States. So it took the CDC at least 3 days to dispatch a proper hazmat team to clean up that apartment, again underlining the alarming incompetence of the federal government in dealing with this Ebola outbreak. Mimi Al-Laham, Syrian girl, I know you've been tracking Ebola. You made a video about that recently. Give us your take on the Ebola outbreak.
Well, you know, I've actually been looking into Ebola because it's a very interesting virus for many years now, and I remember just learning about how it's one of the deadliest viruses known to man. It has a 90% kill rate, especially the Zaire strain, which is apparently the strain we're facing right now. And interestingly, there was no Ebola before the 1970s, and the first case of Ebola was actually not in Africa. Well, an Ebola-like virus, the relative of it being Marburg. The first case of Marburg, which was related to Ebola, was actually in Germany, and only after that were the second cases that came out in Africa. So the origins of Ebola are actually not known about, and this outbreak seems to be different to any other outbreak in the past, because in the past Ebola has killed so quickly and so with such a high rate that it hasn't been able to spread. But in this case, it seems to be spreading out of control. Nobody knows why this outbreak occurred and why it seems to be different from all the rest.
So do you think there may be a possibility that it's gone airborne, at least to a limited extent, as many of the other experts are now saying, including the UN Ebola chief yesterday said that it could mutate and go airborne, that was the main threat now?
Well, I've read that once viruses enter enough hosts that they could mutate and go airborne. The thing is, Ebola, just as it is now, is classified as a Category A biological weapon. And it's, they've had actually teams in Sierra Leone and in other regions of Africa actually researching Ebola for its use as a biological weapon. The US military has had scientists researching about it there, and that's all, open knowledge. So I don't know any information about what is actually the cause of Ebola, but these points are interesting to note because, of course, in this kind of world that we're living in, on the verge of World War III, and with the superpowers all trying to outdo each other, research into biological weapons is the sort of in the next step besides nuclear weapons. It's interesting if Ebola does go airborne, though, that it would be really disastrous. But I do know that sometimes when viruses mutate into something airborne, that actually may or may not make them less deadly. So we'll see how that goes. It may have already gone airborne, but usually you can actually tell by the shape of the virus whether or not it's capable of being airborne. Certainly, it seems to be very contagious, and maybe it's spread by even small particles of the virus, of the saliva in air, could potentially spread the virus as well.
And what do you think about the health authorities in the United States? They let this guy walk around for 2 days. Actually, 4 days. He went back to the hospital 2 days later. They let him walk around for the best part of a week, infected with Ebola. The response since has been nothing more than pathetic. They've the apartment there, they've sent in people with unprotected gear to literally hose down the Ebola sick off the sidewalk. They've let sheriff's deputies into the apartment with no protection whatsoever. What do you think about the federal government response and what it says about how prepared the United States is for an Ebola outbreak?
I think it's really shocking, the fact that the man went to hospital and told them that he's just come back from Africa, in one of the infected countries. I'm not sure if it was Liberia or Sierra Leone, but I believe it was probably Liberia. But they just gave him antibiotics and sent him home. I mean, that's quite shocking. And, the response is maybe being tested as well through this outbreak. And it's clearly not coming up to standard.
Okay, we'll be back after the break. Your calls for Syrian Girl. This is the Alex Jones Show Live. Infowars.com. Keep it locked in.
We're on the march.